The use of beef genetics on dairy cows is increasing rapidly around the world. Estimates show that up to 60% of all dairy cows will be inseminated with beef semen by 2030. But how do you make the most of beef on dairy in your herd? To help us navigate the new beef on dairy world, I've invited two experts to join us. Reni Hvam Nielsen, Product Manager for VikingBeef at VikingGenetics, and Sébastien Clairand, Beef Manager at Evolution XY. You're listening to the BreedCast produced by VikingGenetics. I'm your host, Louise Rønn Svane. So hello and welcome, Reni and Sébastien, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, you're welcome.
Nice to see you here in the studio, Reni, and joining us from the western part of France is Sébastien. Hello.
Hello.
Wonderful to have you. So, beef on dairy is really on the rise around the world. And according to a recent study in Beef magazine, we've gone from beef on dairy being largely experimental to actually having reached a tipping point. So we're looking at a significant increase in beef on dairy calves that are coming to market in the next 3 to 5 years. Reni, let's start with you. What is fueling this growth?
Well, the main thing has been the use of sex semen, because when you use sex semen on the best of your herd, the best cows, then you can get your replacement heifers. And then there's room for using beef on the rest of the herd in order to get some added value to their calves. So that's what's really fueled the increase in use of beef on dairy. Yeah.
What other factors might have played a role? What's happening in the world right now that's sort of pushing this interest in beef on dairy?
Yeah, of course, you always want to add value to your business, and the dairy producers especially. Some of them have been struggling a little bit. So in order to make added value to the product of calves, they see this as an opportunity to get an increased price for them and also an increased interest, because some of them have struggled to find calf rearers or beef producers who would take their calves. So this is a higher quality product.
And we actually have a question from one of our farmers out there. This is from Steve in Kansas, USA. He's listened to the BreedCast and he sent us a message on Facebook. Steve writes, how can beef on dairy improve the salvage value on calves not used for replacement?
Well, the calves have a higher value because they have an increased growth when this is a crossbred calf. And they have more muscles, so more meat. So it's called carcass conformation, and that's typically better at a crossbred calf than a purebred dairy calf. So a lot of extra value, and normally the beef producer pays extra for those calves, and he specifically demands those crossbred calves.
And thank you to Steve for that question. If any of you out there have questions for the show, we'd love to hear from you. Write us a note on Facebook or visit the BreedCast at breedcast.com. So Reni, if you can summarize, what are the advantages of beef on dairy for the farmer, the cows, the beef producer, and the consumer?
Well, first of all, for the dairy farmer, he gets added value for his beef calves. And then next in this chain, you get the beef producer or the calf rearer. He has a higher quality product. It grows faster, the calf grows faster, so he can finish more calves in a year, make more money. And also for the consumers, well, they have a higher quality product because the meat is often more tender. It has more fat marbling. Some of the breeds are very good at making that, at least better than the dairy breeds. So I think that beef on dairy really adds value to the whole chain. Yeah.
And the beef producer, what's in it for them, so to speak?
Yeah. Well, when the calves grow faster on the same feed, obviously that's a business case for him. So he pays extra value, or he pays extra to the dairy farmer for those crossbred calves, and he get paid extra, and he finish them earlier, so they can go to the abattoirs. So, yeah.
And we're also looking at less waste, because we've seen cases where the bull calves, they might be simply too small to be suitable for beef.
Yeah. Historically, we had to cull some of the bull calves because there simply was not enough value to finish them, and that's ethically a waste, and it's so to use them and to get a higher quality product, that's just a win-win situation.
Wonderful. Joining us from France is Sébastien. And Sébastien, how big is beef on dairy right now? Not just where you are in Northern Europe, but around the world.
Yeah, in Europe, the percentage of beef on dairy, so beef bulls used on dairy cows, is near 25%. Can be different from different country if you consider France or Nordic or Germany, but the average is not far away from that point, that figure. If you look on the other side of the Atlantic in North America, the percentage is more near between 30 and 40, between 30 and 40%. So quite higher than in Europe, but we are increasing year after year, month after month, and this market is really growing fast.
Mm. And I know you have 25 years of experience in the beef world. How has beef on dairy evolved historically to reach this tipping point where we are today?
Yes, this beef on dairy market evaluates the last 10 or 15 years, and we can consider that in fact last century the beef on dairy, the crossbreeding, was considered as an opportunity by the dairy breeders. Now we can say that it's considered that a strategy. It is a part of the genetic strategy of the farm, and as Reni said, that the best cows are inseminated in pure breed with sexed semen, and that's why this creates an opportunity for the breeders to use crossbreed on the worst dairy cows.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What are some of the reactions to beef on dairy around the world? Are all farmers excited and embracing this new opportunity, or what are you hearing out there?
Yeah, this kind, not new market, but it's not exactly a new market, but a new opportunity for these breeders are exciting because they are asking more questions. The level of the genetics they want to use, they want to have higher genetic, like in dairy, in fact, and they ask for more easy calving. They ask for more growth potential. They ask for more carcass potential, but with new traits like survival, like color of hairs, like carbon print efficiency, etc. So the dairy farmers really want to improve the crossbreeding with good genetics and of course with revenue on the farms.
No doubt that the use of beef on dairy is going to increase even further in the future. Now let's take a look at how to make the most of this breeding method. Reni, what are some of the first things you recommend looking into when a farmer tells you that he or she is considering using beef genetics on dairy cows?
Well, the first thing you have to do is make a strategy for your herd. How many replacement heifers do you need? Do you need some extra ones? Do you have potential for selling some? So that's the strategy that you need to have in place before you start. And then you have to look at which bulls to use for the beef semen. You can't just use any bulls. You have to use bulls that are specifically bred or bought for beef on dairy, so that you ensure the easy calving that Sébastien is talking about, because that's crucial. Easy calving, a calf that has a high survival rate and then growth as a third, quality parameter that you're looking for. So before you start, have a strategy. How many cows are you going to use this on, and how many do you need for replacement? So that's the first step when using beef on dairy.
So you've previously worked as a calf rearer advisor. More specifically, what is it that the beef producer or calf rearer is looking for in sort of the perfect bull calf?
Well, they want a more muscular calf than the purebred dairy calves because they don't grow fast enough and they don't put on those muscles that they need when they're going to finish the calves. So that's what they're really looking for. And when the market is providing those, they sort of like, okay, the neighbor is going to have those calves, I want them too. So the purebred dairy calves are not very high in demand. And that goes, I think, worldwide. So the beef on dairy calves are worth more to the beef producer because they finish sooner. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how do I go about selecting the right bulls and approach for beef on dairy?
Well, most semen selling companies do have some beef on dairy bulls that are bought and reared only to make semen for the beef on dairy. So they have a focus on easy calving and growth potential as second, and also calf survivability, a strong calf. You can't use any bull, just a random bull. You need specifically beef on dairy bulls. We have in the Nordic region, we have the NBDI index, which is the Nordic Beef on Dairy Index. And this index tells you, well, how does this bull rank in terms of easy calving? Does he have a very good index for that? And that's how you should choose the bulls. This index is made across breeds, so it doesn't focus on a specific breed. You can choose a breed if you want, but if you don't care about what breed to use, then just look at the index. And of course, the more calves this bull is the father of, the more reliable his indices are. So you can take a look at that as well. Yeah.
Sébastien, what are some of the most popular beef breeds for beef on dairy around the world?
Around the world, one if we can consider a kind of big five, what are the big most important breed in the world? In the world, if we start by Europe, in Europe is the blue breed is can be Danish blue or Belgian blue is very popular with the higher level of market share. If you go to North America, it's more Angus, or with the most popular. If you go to Asia region and also Australia, New Zealand, Limousin, Simmental, and Charolais are also popular. So this is the five main breeds we can find all over the world. This is the Charolais, the Limousin, the Danish blue, Belgian blue, and also Angus, who are the five main breeds used by the breeders on their dairy cows.
And the farmers you speak to, what are they asking for? What are they looking for in the different bulls?
The things they ask are quite similar between the breeds. As we said before, it's the easy calving. The easy calving is not. We cannot negotiate on the easy calving. They want easy calving. They want also good semen fertility from the bulls. They want gestation length. They want, as we said before, growth potential, good carcass, and some new traits, as I said, like beef carbon, etc. But the main character are easy calving, survival, and fertility of the semen. the most important for the breeder is to get some revenue from the beef and dairy, but with no negative impact on the dairy production. We always have to keep in mind that a dairy breeder is a dairy breeder. His main revenue, his main job is to produce dairy, and the beef is just an added value, and the breeder don't want to have a negative impact to use beef on his dairy cows.
Reni, are you recognizing what Sébastien is saying? Are you seeing those trends, so to speak, in the requests that you're receiving?
Yes, totally. And that's why we do progeny testing of the bulls, so to see how he does with easy calving, because that's priority number one. And no compromise there. We need that.
What I'm gathering is that in order to get the best results with beef on dairy, I need a solid strategy, as you were saying, Reni. I need to pay attention to indexes, the bulls I choose, and I love the point about still understanding that this is still for dairy farmers. The dairy business is still in focus, and this is an added value that the beef semen is giving. Now let's take a look at the future of beef on dairy. Sébastien, where will beef on dairy be in 5 to 10 years?
Okay. I will try to ask to my crystal ball, but it's difficult. But anyway, we in countries like North America, but also in Europe and especially in UK, we see some positive trends about the beef and dairy, and we estimate in our group that the beef and dairy will be represent 50, maybe 60% of the AI on dairy cows for the 5 or next 10 years. The result will be between these two figures, and the majority, we can say that the majority of the dairy cows will be inseminated with beef bulls in maybe 5 or 10 years from now.
And as Reni mentioned in the beginning of the show, you both talked about part of what's driving this development is also the requests from consumers. What are the consumers going to ask for in the future when it comes to beef?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we in the discussion we talk a lot about the ask of the dairy farmer, but we keep an eye and also hair on the ask of the consumer. We think that the consumer will ask from us three main things. Were to get some local meat. I think it will. We think that it will not appreciate tomorrow that to have meat where it's coming from South America or far region. Linked with the first point is to have meat with a lower impact on the environment, and so that means local meat and efficient meat. And the last point, which is not the least, is to have to respect the animal welfare. So to be that means for us to, for example, to be able to offer to the market old bulls who avoid to the farmer to de-harm the animals, for example. It's just an example, but we have this trait, or we have this in the creation program. We wanted to integrate this point in order to be able to offer this polled bulls to the market tomorrow in the different breeds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know polled bulls. That's a big trend, and we're going to talk about that in some of the other BreedCasts as well. Reni, there's a lot of talk about climate impact from the dairy industry. How does beef on dairy support a better climate and lower emission?
Yes, well, first of all, as Sébastien said, meat produced locally will mean less transportation of the meat, and that's good for the environment. So that's one factor. And also being more efficient in producing more meat from an animal, because a crossbred animal produces more meat than a purebred dairy calf does. So that's two factors contributing to a better environment. And also in the dairy business, they're looking at methane emission, and they're looking at feed efficiency. And of course, in time, that will come to beef and dairy as well.
I remember you telling me some stories about also some farmers in the Nordic countries being quite innovative, thinking about this in new ways. There was something around some heifers and some trials. That I thought that might be interesting for our listeners to hear a bit about that.
Yeah. Well, the use of beef and dairy is a bit different from region to region. And in Denmark, we produce a lot of veal. That means that they have to grow fast, so we use male sex semen in order to get those bull calves that grow very fast. But in some regions in the Nordic countries, it's the dairy producer himself that rears these calves. So it's inconvenient for him to have bull calves because he has his own dairy heifers. And then he can use female sex semen in order to get heifers instead and then finish them himself. So there are different strategies. It also comes down to what slaughter concepts, what does the abattoirs offer in terms of pricing? Is it beneficial to have young animals slaughtered at 10 months, or is it more in the consumer's wish to have red meat, so you need an animal that's 20 to 30 months of age? So different concepts in different regions and countries. So there are a lot of ways to utilize this beef and dairy system. Yeah.
Sébastien, what other trends are you seeing in the market around the world related to beef and dairy and this whole evolution going on?
The trends are quite similar. Depends on the country, the strategy, or the reactivity of the breeders. But another positive point we can say about the crossbreeding, that the breeders can change their strategy a bit at every gestation. That means a farmer can use, if the market is better for a Danish Blue, he can use a Danish Blue 1 year, and the next gestation he can change his mind, or change the bull or the type of bull in order to answer better to the market. Or if you have an opportunity to produce veal or to produce meat. So it's another opportunity for the dairy farmer and also for the market to be adaptive to be able to adhere to the market and to be reactive in term of genetic, and only not like in pure breed, be obliged to follow the same genetic year after year. The crossbreeding permit to change and adapt the strategy year after year.
Thank you. Thanks for joining our BreedCast today. We've looked at the rapidly growing trend beef and dairy and how you can make the most of it in your breeding plan. If you'd like to learn more, you can visit our beef area at VikingGenetics.com. I'd like to thank Reni Hvam Nielsen and Sébastien Clairand for sharing these valuable insights with us, and I want to thank all of you out there for listening. If you have an idea for a topic in the world of cattle breeding that you'd like us to focus on in the BreedCast, please visit www.breedcast.com or send us a message, like Steve from Kansas did, on our Viking Genetics Facebook page. My name is Louise Rønn Svane. Please join me for the next BreedCast episode,